If you go into the ballroom, there are all kinds of posters and stuff up from when there was a whistle stop and they had the big band.
And we're on the air. Good evening, welcome to the Newmarket Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting for Monday, September 16th, 2019. We're back after a 3-month hiatus. And our first order of business, as always, is a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Next agenda item is a review and approval of minutes of April 3rd, 2019. Go ahead, Bob.
I have one clarification I need done on that one.
Okay.
On page 5, line 37, there's something that doesn't quite read right. Jonathan Sachs asked if there had been any problem where a lot of people stopped to pick up takeout food in that area. Would the management of that would change at all?
Oh, okay.
It just didn't.
Pastor Kevin, this is the restaurant downtown, the
Yeah.
Mexican restaurant,
Yeah.
and the apartment is upstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Asked if there was any problem where a lot of. I think
There's
he
an
was
ex-
asking about whether people try to stop in
Yeah.
front of the,
Yeah.
without a, not in a group space.
Well,
And would the management of that change at all? I don't know.
there's an extra wood in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you just delete that wood before the word change.
It just reads odd. It sounds like it's an
Yeah, it
incomplete
is.
thought.
No, not that
Otherwise-
one, this one.
Oh, that one?
So first
Would
one.
the management of that change at all?
Right, he's asking
Meaning
whether
the
the
management of the business,
So parking.
For parking.
management of the parking.
It just says an extra wood in there. That was the only thing I
Yeah.
picked up.
Good call.
Delete the second one. Anything else, Bob?
I didn't pick up anything else.
This is probably just a slight clerical error. So on the agenda item, it's listed as 4/3, but in the email it was listed as April 1st. So just when I get the dates, correspond.
correct
So this is the
date?
15th, and then there was the April 1st minutes, but it was listed as 4/3 on the.
Oh,
date.
it should be April
It
1st.
should be April 1st.
April
okay.
1st.
So I just wanted to make sure that it was reflected appropriately. Because on the agenda item here,
Yeah,
it's April.
on the agenda it's April
Yeah,
3rd.
it
It should be
but
April
I'm
1st.
looking at, it should be April 1st and the 15th.
Correct, yeah.
Two separate.
Yep.
sets of
Two
Right,
separate
minutes.
we're taking up the
Okay,
April
gotcha.
1st minutes
Correct.
first.
Yes.
So I'll make a motion that we accept as amended.
Do I have a second?
Sure.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Next, to review and approval the minutes of the April 15th, 2019 meeting. there's no comments, I'll accept the motion to approve as presented.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed? And finally, review and approval of the minutes of the June 3rd, 2019 meeting. If there's no suggestions or changes, I'll entertain a motion to approve them as presented.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Yep, second.
Thank you, Steve. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those
Show me
opposed?
as abstaining, because I wasn't there.
Okay, so it's 4-0 in favor, and Bob abstains from the approval of those minutes. Okay, agenda item number 3 is our regular business. This is the application of Bingham Junction LLC, Shane McGowan. It's a public hearing for an application for a variance from section 32-87, subparagraph 2 of the Newmarket zoning ordinance to permit construction of an 18-foot by 12.3-foot addition to the railroad depot, which will be 17.1 feet from the easterly property line where a 25-foot setback is allowed. The property is located at 3 Rockingham Junction, tax map R3, lot 13A in the B1 zone. And the way we do these things, if you've not been here before, is we've got your application materials. We've reviewed everything. This is an opportunity to explain things to us, put whatever else other evidence you want to put on the record. And then we'll have public comment, which I anticipate will be brief, if not non-existent. And then we'll ask questions and we'll go from there.
I'm Alex Ross, I'm an engineer and surveyor who prepared the plans. I'm here tonight with the owner, Sean McGowan. I think in your package you have all these plans.
We do.
I'd be happy to pass them out if someone doesn't have
We have them. If you're going to refer to that, maybe move it a little bit closer. I don't know if you're going to point at anything, because some of us don't see very well.
them. I'd like to-
Or here. These are the
I'd like to
jokes,
pass
people.
out some additional handouts just so that you'll understand.
Thank you.
I think there is. Do you want your extras back?
Make sure you have a copy for the file, that's all.
You're right here.
Okay, so you've handed us what looks like 4 additional photographs that were not in the original packet.
Correct.
Thank you.
Sure. So we've been working on this site for quite a long time. I'm not sure if any board members were here years ago, but back in 2008, we were before both towns for a pretty involved site plan that included a bunch of additional buildings. So, you can see that this plan set.
Thank you.
So you can see in 2008, there was an addition, we proposed an addition on the train station, and then 2 new large buildings with a very large asphalt paved parking lot. The economy kind of took a nosedive around that time, and the owner decided not to do that intense of a project. So if you turn the sheet, you can see a couple years later, 2013, we came back before the town, downsized, did a small addition off the train station, smaller parking area, and gravel parking area. So that, of course, was with a previous owner. The plans that you have before you tonight are even less impact than the 2013. And you can see in those color plans that you have of the site plan, there's a small addition, just 12 by 18 feet, and a small, reasonable gravel parking area.
Were there variances required in 2008 or 2013?
Yes, they were all approved.
They were setbacks?
Yes.
Setback variances?
Yes.
Okay.
The planning board also granted some waivers, the gravel parking lot was one, okay? Mr. Lang, there's also some waivers on the parking that was located on the site.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
And back on those runs through the town, we went to both towns, ZBA, planning board, everything was approved. So we feel what we're showing tonight is even less than those other two that were approved. I'd be happy to read through the application if the board would like.
Don't feel necessary, assume that we've read the application.
Okay.
This is just your opportunity if there's anything you want to expand on. And we may have questions for you, but don't feel like you need to read the application to us.
Okay.
Most of us can read. So it's just your opportunity if there's anything additional you want to add or expand upon.
Sure, yeah,
Feel free.
and I guess in a real general sense, and that the owner can expand on this. I don't know how familiar the board is with this site, but it's a great site out there. Right next to this Rails to Trails. We've been working out there all different times of year, and so many different people come out there, go cross-country skiing, biking, snowmobiling. So we feel that the improvements that Sean has proposed are really going to further all that activity, and it's just going to be a benefit for the town.
Mhm.
I may add in addition to that,
Sure.
this is definitely not a financial investment. This is a community impact investment. If you're familiar with this property, it was graffiti, it's been vandalized, it's in disrepair. People park essentially wherever they want down there.
They've tried to burn it down at least twice.
Tried to burn it down multiple times. I respectfully would put forth, I don't think you'll find another opportunity where somebody is as willing to restore and renovate this property, because it's an economic uncertainty at best. So I'm doing this because I'm passionate. I live in Newfields, right on the other side of this location. I spent years running on this trail. I see the importance to the community, and I'm going to do this for the community. I ask for your consideration of that.
Thank you. Anything further?
No?
Okay. So, although there are no members of the public here, it is necessary for me to open the floor for public comment at this point in time.
So this is where the bus loads from Massachusetts.
This is, yeah. Seeing none, I will close the public comment portion of the hearing and open the floor for discussion. You can sit down, Mr. Ross. If we have questions, you have the opportunity to come up.
Thank you.
Bob, did you want?
I don't have any questions. I thought the written information was well put together, and it was quite clear to me. And
Okay.
I like the whole idea. I think that place should be salvaged.
My only thing I want to make sure that we have on the record is, I think the first four criteria are very easily satisfied in my mind looking at the application. I just want to talk a little bit in order to protect the record, protect the applicant really, that in terms of the hardship criteria, that you have a small property that is hard up against the railroad track, which really limits the options. It's a unusual configuration of lot, the way the building is kind of back in one of the corners of the triangle, which in my mind makes it unique relative to other properties in the area. And the expansion is going to have, into the setback, is going to have virtually no impact on abutting properties of any kind that I can see. So in my mind, this is a unique property. There are unique characteristics of this property that distinguish it from others in the area due to the proximity, the unusual shape and configuration of the lot and the proximity of the railroad tracks that would make it an unnecessary hardship if the variance were denied.
And the historic aspect too makes it very unique.
Yes, I agree with that. I just want to make sure that that's on the record so everybody's adequately protected. And with that in mind, I will entertain a motion to approve the variance.
I make a motion that we approve the variance and use the material presented as our finding of fact.
Thank you, Steve. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thanks for your work.
Thank you very much. We wish you the best of luck.
Wish you a lot of luck with it.
How did it go with you at the Newfields Planning Board last week? How did that go?
Did not go to the Newfields Planning Board last week. Decided to go to their ZBA first.
Okay.
Their ZBA wanted to reaffirm the judgment that they made in relation to the 2-foot offset off the back rail, or the back lot line. So we'll do that and then go in October.
We wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Sure.
Get you home at a reasonable hour tonight.
Okay, our next order of business is consideration of our proposed amendments to rules of procedure. Dan, why don't you talk about this, because you drafted these. There's been some changes to statute.
It's been such a long time, I forget what we were concerned about. There's some new language that was included in the 2018 RSA's regarding zoning boards of adjustment. And there are two methods that have been used over the years in voting on variance criteria. Some communities take a single vote on all 5, while others vote on each criterion individually. And so long as there's 3 votes in affirmative, then that necessitates the approval of the variance. And here in Newmarket, since I've been here, 2008 or 2006, it's been 13 years, we've always taken a single vote, and the board deliberated and helped to identify the findings and facts and the basis for which the denial or approval was granted.
My understanding is the intent of the amendment is to make sure that the procedure reflects our actual practice. Either way is
That's
okay,
correct.
as long
That
as your
is correct.
procedures are consistent.
And it was suggested by the Office of Strategic Initiatives to
Yeah.
include that information in our bylaws. So I have made amendments to the bylaws, and in doing so, Sue Jordan went through and she found a couple of things that she felt should be changed as well, based on the most recent
Is that what you
version.
sent to us?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a memo that I prepared that explains it in general terms.
You've got a lot more changes on yours than I see on mine. So what am I
Could be
missing?
that you're not in, it's not in red.
Oh, it's not in red. I see. I was looking for red lines. Okay, I didn't print it in red.
Yeah. I think there's a copy in red here. There you go.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I've got it right up here.
Okay, good. So, and of course, the zoning board can amend its rules of procedure at any point. You don't have to have a public hearing. You just need to make it official, and it becomes effective at the next board meeting, essentially.
I have to,
have to adopt one or the other, or could we adopt one, like we've been voting on the whole five at once, and then if anybody has real strong objection to that, we could,
You would have to change the bylaws first, and I believe there's some language to that effect in the RSA. So,
am I making myself
changes to
clear?
this voting method are effective 60 days after the date at which the ZBA decides to change the method. So, I think the idea behind that is that it can't be changed on a case-by-case basis,
That's what I'm getting at.
based on what the application is. So it's, to provide some fairness in the process to the applicants.
So we adopt one or the other, and
Right.
unless we, as a board, want to go
Change
another
it.
way.
That's correct. But it can't
But
be
we
done
can't
at
be
the same
done.
night of the meeting.
Right, okay.
You gotta understand too, that we meet 4 or 5 times a year, maybe.
Yeah.
If you go to Manchester,
They're meeting every day.
they'll have 30 variance applications in a meeting. And they go through them like this,
Yeah.
or Rye or Portsmouth, they have a lot of applications in a given, or Durham. So, the method we use in the time I've been here has worked pretty well.
I don't have a problem, I just,
Yeah.
if there was, I just had that question.
We have from time to time had very extended discussions of one particular criteria or another. But as long as it's clear on the record exactly what we're doing, it's fine. As long as the court can figure out what we're doing and why we're doing it.
So we can still discuss vote
Oh,
number
absolutely.
three
You can discuss it,
specifically,
Yeah.
but if you want to change the voting method,
right.
then it has to be done after you change.
You can
the
say, I'm
bylaws.
voting against this primarily because I feel the applicant hasn't met criteria 3,
Yeah.
or whatever.
I think our method works better because it's possible that 3 people would have an issue with one item and the others wouldn't, and then this way we look at the whole package and work with the whole package.
I agree.
Yeah, at the meeting of the Office of Strategic Initiatives, there was a whole
Yeah, you attended.
discussion of, in theory, you could have a quorum, 3 votes for an application, but people disagree about the application, different people disagree about different criteria. So you can tie yourself up in knots playing these games. We don't do that because we just don't do it. We don't have, the applications haven't been that particularly challenging in that respect.
One other question, how do the big boys do it most of the time? This is just curious.
They're all over the place.
I've seen it different ways. When I worked I was on the planning board, the zoning board in Nottingham, my hometown, many years ago, and we did each criteria separately, and we did run into problems in coming to a consensus on some applications. My last job before Newmarket was with the town of Merrimack, which is not quite as big as Nashua or Manchester, but we use the system that this board currently uses.
The language that you and Sue put into the draft amendment, where did that come from?
I drafted it
Okay.
based on the RSA.
What I'm
And
looking-
Susan had drafted her changes based on what was in the Office of Strategic Initiatives handbook.
What specifically I'm looking at is disqualification, and specifically
Which paragraph is
the
that?
last paragraph in the disqualification, the paragraph 3.
Yeah, okay.
It says either the chair or a member disqualifying him or herself before the beginning of the public hearing on the case shall announce the disqualification. The disqualified member shall exit the meeting room during the public hearing and during all deliberations on the case. Is that necessary?
Yeah,
I
I
think that's a.
I don't think that's necessary.
It's probably not necessary, right, Bob?
You just go and sit in the audience.
You just
I
have
mean,
to show that you're separate from the
we-
discussion.
You know, if it's an abutting property and I disqualify myself because of that, I may wanna sit in there and speak as an abutter.
Right.
So that was the only objection I saw to.
It's page 3, or page 4 at the top.
Page 4,
This has not been our practice.
no.
Because, Bob, I think the last case you
Okay.
recused yourself, right? Because
Wayne,
Wayne,
Wayne. Okay, yeah.
and he sat in the audience, it was
Right.
fine.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's fine. I would support striking that sentence from the amendment. I don't think that's,
I don't think it's necessary.
I don't think it's necessary.
I mean, I think it limits our options as residents of town.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, you disqualified yourself from something, Wayne. I forget if you were,
He was the one submitting the variance.
was it you?
Yeah, it was the
submitting
variance
For
for his
the-
frontage on his
Oh, right, right,
daughter
right,
and son-in-law's new lot or new house.
Right.
Oh,
But you sat in the audience because you're entitled to speak to the application. You're
Correct.
not-
Right.
You're not abandoning your rights as a
Yeah.
citizen.
That says no.
Yeah,
That's a
understood.
Good point.
And that's not our practice anyway.
Yep.
That was the only thing I had, really. I mean, everything else kind of made sense. I mean, a lot of it was just procedural about, notifications and decisions and things like that, so that's deals more with how you handle things.
You know what I want to do before we act on this? Can we run this by John?
Sure.
Let's just run it by John Radigan.
Okay. I don't think there's anything in here.
I know, but I'd feel, what do we pay him for?
Yeah, he's,
He's the expert, right?
well,
Because then when it goes horribly wrong, we can blame it on him.
his degree of suspicion is probably a little higher than ours.
Well, he sees a lot of these for a lot of different boards.
Yeah.
So it'll take him 15 minutes to read through it, and he'll just say, consider this, consider that.
And we can put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yeah, I
whenever
don't
that
think
may
there's any
be.
big rush.
I think that's a good suggestion.
So back to that voting, I just want to make sure I understand, because I know there was some discussion there. So when we do the single vote on all 5 criteria, we still can say, not, we would be denying the application due to failure to meet criteria 1 or 3 or 4. So
You can
Yes.
still do that.
you can still do, okay, all
You
right.
just don't have to vote on each and every criteria.
Right.
It just streamlines it a little bit.
Yep,
But
sure.
when we had,
Let's put it this way, if we get members that are objecting to a couple of items on 2 or 3 items.
It's a bad application.
It's a bad application.
Yeah.
I mean, tonight was just,
Easy.
Yeah.
yeah. So I think if you take the suggestions that you've heard Dan back, make them and shoot it off to John, and let's get his
Sure.
input.
Be happy to.
If he has suggestions of things that other boards do that we have not considered, we're happy to consider them. And we'll take it up at our next regular meeting,
Okay.
to take effect at the meeting after the meeting when we.
there's no timeline on adopting these, is there?
Oh, no,
Nope,
no, it's just
it's a good idea, though. This is,
housekeeping practice, that's all.
they recommended this as a best practice just to make sure that your procedures comply, because different towns have
Correct.
towns are far more litigious than we are.
Who presented this at the conference, do you recall? Was it somebody from Strategic Initiatives?
I
Or was it a lawyer?
thought it was one of the lawyers. It was a number of the lawyers repeated the same theme. It was a long time ago now. Jonathan was there too. He may remember in more detail, but this goes back to the spring, early spring. Okay, so Diane's gonna take those suggestions back to John Radigan and bring this back with any changes he may suggest for us to consider. Any new or old business become before the board at this time?
October 5th.
Is my birthday,
It's Chris's birthday, happy birthday.
28, again.
Again. That's the Office of Strategic Initiatives one-day workshop for planning and zoning board members. And I believe Sue sent out a meeting agenda
Yeah.
to everyone, and anyone who's
You
interested
okay?
in attending, I'll make it.
Is it in Concord? Where is it?
It's in Concord.
Those things are worth going to, I think. They cram 15 minutes worth of information into 3 hours, but I think it's still worthwhile going.
Oh, you're really selling it.
No, they're fun.
I can hardly
They're-
wait to attend.
Usually lunch is good.
They're very interesting to go to listen to other people's experiences and war stories. We're pretty civilized compared to a lot of other boards.
It's before hunting season.
It's before hunting season too, that is
Rabbit
important to
season.
bear in mind.
Ducks.
Okay, any other new or old business become before us at this time?
Sorry. No.
Seeing none, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move. Ah, you beat me. Oh no.
We'll
We
give
have 2
it-
seconds.
We'll give it to Bob, and we'll give James a second. We'll do it by seniority. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much.